Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. Welcome back. Hang on, I'll just turn off auto thingo. There we go. Welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. For those who don't know, I'm Gavin Weber, and I will attempt today on episode 275 to answer your home cheese making questions. It's a bit of a chilly day here in sunny Melton. Well, I don't know if it's going to be sunny. It was raining just before, but yeah, it's freezing. And just a word of warning, I do have the doggos with me here in the studio, so they may bark, want to get up, do whatever they do. So I may be in and out of the chair, letting Kim rest. So anyway, thank you to all of the YouTube members and patrons. We have a new member today. It's not on the list because she just signed up, but we'll get to that in a minute. Thank you to everybody who is a YouTube member. And thank you to all of my wonderful patrons as well over on Patreon. Everybody who is a member and a patron get access to the video tutorials that I release and taste tests. They get it at least 24 hours early, plus there are other perks as well. And speaking of members, let me just see if I can find where... Goodness me, it was a while back now. Jeanette, there we go. Thank you, Jeanette, for your lovely membership. Welcome to Fresh. And we have different tiers within YouTube as well. Of membership, where you get different things. So, well done. Thank you, Jeanette. Also, shout out to, where the heck is it? Persnickety. Thank you for my birthday wishings. Let's just flash up the light, seeing that was all before the show started. Thank you for the super chat and the birthday wishes, and it is my humble pleasure to educate the world on how to make cheese. Let's get rid of that before somebody has a seizure. There we go. Oh, goodness me. Welcome to so many people, but a big happy birthday to Nev, who's watching down in Tasmania. G'day, Nev. I think you're sitting there with your daughter, Shauna. So happy birthday, Nev. Have a great one. And hopefully Shauna will get you some cheese today. That'll be good. Well done, mate. What else? Oh, videos coming up. We have Red Leicester coming up soon. We have Stilton still in the making. Takes a while for that one. And we have the Tassie Devil taste test. Also, big news, well, here in Australia anyway, not so good, but Made by Cow, you might have seen me make some cheeses with the raw milk that was pressure pasteurised. They've actually just gone into receivership on Friday. They've closed their doors and handed over to the bankruptcy people. So unfortunately, we won't be getting any raw milk pressure pasteurised anymore from Made by Cow. Now, if it's on the supermarket shelves, then yeah, grab it if you're here in Australia. Because it makes the best cheese. It makes a very good cheese. So Made by Cow is no longer there. Like I said, there may be some stock still, but it is a shame. It was a great milk. Set a fantastic curd. So both the Jersey and the Friesian Holstein versions. So that is sad news. So hopefully other dairy producers won't go under during these... and I hope we don't go under. As far as Little Green Workshops, that is, business is a bit slow at the moment. So, although if business is slow, I get more time to make videos, I suppose. So yeah, and just Kim and I have had to tighten our belts, reduce a few things, and business-wise and in the home life. So yeah, we're not struggling per se, but business is slow. So anyway, it's the same all over, as far as I can tell, especially for small businesses here in Australia. Okay. Now, don't forget, the gallery is going to be shown at 30 minutes past the hour. We've got lots and lots of photos today. Thank you to Shauna, Bernard, and Ilgvar from Latvia. So, yeah, we've got lots. And, of course, we're going to be talking sometime today about the Curd Nerd Academy, which I'm working on a third course for that series for the Curd Nerd Academy, so that will be really cool. Thanks for all the lovely little love hearts too that are popping up in the chat. That's very cool. Okay, let's say g'day. There are so many people here. Before we get into the questions, let me just check my list. Persnickety, first person. Hello, mate. How are you? We got Marie. Hello, Marie. Lovely to see you. And we've also got, took a while, Jim Jackson. Hello, mate. Thank you for your membership. Jeanette. Hello, Jeanette. Hope those books are going well that you grabbed last week. Who else we got? We got Croesus of Borg. Oh, great comment. Hang on, I've got to show it. I think Jarlsberg cheese should be renamed Jarlsborg cheese. Resistance is futile. Anyway, very cool. We got Jordan. Hello, Jordan. They're in sunny California. Minecraft Pony. Goodness me. That's a game from the past. My kids used to play that. I think that probably lots of people still play Minecraft. Anyway, it's pretty big on YouTube's. Who else we got? Paul. Hello, Paul. Lovely to see you, mate. Lice Dog. Long time no see. And Gargoyle? Gargooly? Yeah, that'll do. Welcome. How are you? And who the heck? Well, we got lots of people. Michael and Jenny, how are you both? Hope the triple cream goes well today. We got Shyam Peretz. Is that how you say it? Shyam? Maybe. We'll see. Boris, Titus, Shauna, of course, and Nev. Have I missed anybody? Katerina, lovely to see you. Got Harsh. Molly Brown, hello Molly. And Ciel, how are you both? How are we both? How are you both? S. Sandra, lovely to see you. C. Scarston, welcome back. Lovely to see you, of course. Tony, and who else we got? Raymond from Arkansas. That's not Arkansas. That's Arkansas, as far as I know. And Cheryl, welcome back. It's been a long time. Thank you so much, and thanks for that. For the inspiration for the Jack in the Box cheese. Roaring success. So many people have gone on to make that one now. So well done you. And Nicola. Hello, Nicola. Okay, so let's get to some questions. There are questions somewhere here, somewhere. If you do have a question, just put 3 Qs in front of it so it kind of like stands out as a question. And then that'll get my attention. So let me just have a quick look. There is... first question was from... I think it was from Marie. Let me just have a look. Here it is. So this is way back. If I brined a brie, does it contaminate the brine with candidum and geotrichum? And can I use the brine for all other cheeses? Guessing the salt kills the stuff, but I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so in answer to your question, and it has been answered in the chat already, but the salt won't kill the candidum and the geotrichum. So the best way to treat this brine that you've brined a brie in, excuse me, is to boil the brine way before you use it, of course, and then let that cool back down to 13 degrees Celsius. So that's what you do, and that effectively pasteurizes the brine, and you can reuse it over and over again. However, if you're just going to use the brine for white mold cheeses, then yeah, no problems at all. So just keep using it. But if you don't want other cheeses to be contaminated, then definitely boil the brine before you use it again. Once the brine starts to smell a bit funky, I just throw it away and make some more. So salt is cheap, so yeah, brine is easy enough to make. Hope that helps. Okay, next question is Pasnicki had one about garlic. I don't know if he's asked it again, but anyway, it says here, I do have a question about garlic and format, but we'll save that for the stream. But you've got something here. If I take notes, is raw, powder, or mince best method and treatment for before introducing it to the curd? Right. So raw garlic over time can be subject to botulism because it's fresh, got moisture in it, that sort of thing. It's best used for fresh cheeses and cheeses that'll dry out very, very fast, like Belper cannoli. So that's the only time I use raw garlic. Powdered is a little bit fine. It's easy to get washed out in the whey when you're milling the curd. So it's probably best to use granulated garlic. I have used powdered garlic before in in Cotswold. So I use dried chives, dried onion, and dried garlic powder. You can use minced garlic, or sorry, not minced, as in granulated dried garlic. I wouldn't use minced garlic out of a jar or anything like that, because that's got preservatives in it as well. So powdered and granulated dried garlic, perfect, no problems really. Won't create any issues in your curd. As far as treatment, the dried ones, I've just put it straight into the curd when I'm milling it and adding salt at the same time. I don't rehydrate it or don't do anything like that. And I've never had any problems. And as far as I'm aware, it doesn't create any problems within the cheese. So hopefully that answered your question. Okay. Let's just remove that one. Next question is, if I can find it, way back in the chat. Sorry, I'll find this. It's more of an observation. Marie says, I got my first order from Little Green Workshops, that's us, this week, and there was a handwritten note. I've been watching the channel for 10 years, and getting your autograph and my name spelled right made me tear up a little. That's very nice. As I've mentioned in the chat, I treat everybody who buy from us as family, all the curd nerds. It's a great community, and I love writing little notes and little affirmations in the notes to encourage you to make better cheese. So there you go. Thank you, Marie. It's lovely. Next question is, if I can find it. Sorry. Oh, the music's not going. That's what I'm not listening. There we go. Sorry. No music. Now the music's back. Right. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where the next question is. There's lots of stuff here. Katarina says, I've made some made by cow camembert ripening in the fridge. Everybody loves it so much. Sad it's going to be my last. Indeed. Tony also says, Gavin, have you thought about owning cows and goats for your own milk? Unfortunately, I live in the suburbs, Tony. I have thought about it, but there's no place for me to store them or have them or house them. I used to live on a dairy farm when I was a kid, so I know it's a lot of work. And no, running a small business and having a cow at the same time probably would not be conducive to making cheese videos as well, even though I'd have all this cheese. But I just don't have the room. I'd have to tie the goat up on the medium strip because we've landscaped the place where there's no grass. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I have thought about it, but it just doesn't happen. Persnickety says, dairy is a time sink, and I think Gav already has his time eaten. Indeed, yes. Marie says, what's the best way to sanitize a sushi/cheese mat? It's got black mold on it from Bel Paese. They got away from me, and scrubbing isn't helping. The wood is spotted black. I don't think you'll be able to get rid of the mold. When I've come across that, I've tried to boil it, and mold comes back. It's very persistent stuff. So what I do is basically, Marie, throw it away. So sushi mats are fairly cheap. You can get them in the supermarket. You know, we sell them fairly cheap as well. So if that's the case, it's probably best to switch to plastic mats, which are easier to sanitize and they don't get mold growth on them. That's my advice. Or just use a freshly boiled sushi mat. I've got about... I regularly throw them away in... Probably I use one a month. Maybe a little bit longer. But yeah. Persnickety says, garlic and... Oh, already done that. Oh, yeah, question after the thing. Right. Nicola says, my goats are dry at the moment, but come late October we'll start to kid, so be stocking up before then. Well done, Nicola. Yeah, a lot of people don't know and don't understand that, goodness me, that dairy animals do dry up and you don't get milk all the time. Who's that from? Right, from Paul. Thank you, Paul. Look at the size of that. Hang on, let me just kill a night. $50 US. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it. Says, happy birthday, Gavin. Hope this helps. Why does hard cheese like Cheshire get sharper after 6 months compared to cheddar? At least it seems all my Cheshires are very sharp after 6 months. The Cheshire is actually a lot drier. I think the curd sizes are smaller than cheddar. The temperature's a bit higher as well, so that expels more whey. So the less whey that is in the final cheese, the sharper it's going to be as well as it ages. But yeah, compared to cheddar, cheddar has a lot more moisture than what Cheshire does. And I remember that recipe. I thought to myself, this is going to be a fairly dry and crumbly cheese. So yeah, that's the reason. But thank you, Paul. It does help. Don't you worry about that. Thank you so much. All right, back to the normal questions. Harsh says, hey, Gavin, I'm a cheesemaker. I'm trying to make high moisture mozzarella in a commercial place. My average mozzarella is 40%. I want to make around 48 to 52 with 2.4 to 2.6% fat. Can you help me? Any suggestions? Yes, my suggestion is you won't achieve that fat content with a high moisture mozzarella. It's the fat that helps. So when you're thinking about high moisture mozzarellas, you're looking at milk like buffalo milk. Now, buffalo milk traditionally has a fat content between 15 to 18% of fat in the milk. It's very high in fat, and that's what mozzarella is made from, normal mozzarella. So getting the moisture content to that high, 52%, with a low-fat milk, you're really going to be struggling, and it seems like you are. So that would be the issue. Not enough fat, I think. So thanks, Harsh, but that's how the science works, unfortunately. Jordan says, it's amazing that the chat seemed to start an hour before the stream. Indeed. Can I just say that Persnickety is an early bird. He's always on there while I'm setting up the studio, and I just have a little g'day, and then we're off. We're off with the races. So, yeah, it's always good to get the chat started and say g'day. But, yeah. Dog says, any chance for a course made by you in person in Christchurch, New Zealand? Unfortunately not. I won't be travelling anywhere at the moment. For those, I don't know how many people know. And thanks Alan and Pat for subscribing to the channel. For those who don't know, how do I say this? Kim, not only did she go through breast cancer and all the stuff that happens after that, she's all clear now, of course, but as far as her mental health goes, when it comes to, thinking the worst all the time, it's not good. Plus, she's also got MS, so we won't be moving around very far anytime soon. So, and MS, people who don't know, it's multiple sclerosis, which is scarring on the brain, which impedes your nervous system. So, anyway, no, I won't be travelling and doing any courses. I would love to, however, there is always the online courses. That's why I make them. Because I can't get out there. A good hint by Anthony for Marie says, you may also want to put a little bit more salt into the brine each time you reuse it, because some of the salt will be absorbed into the cheese. Indeed. So what I do is, after I boil the brine, I put a tablespoon of salt back into the brine. By estimates, I estimate that about a tablespoon has been absorbed into the cheese during brining time, depending on how long you've got it in there, of course. But I put a tablespoon back in there and just float an egg in it and make sure that it still floats. And that's how I test it. But great tip there, Anthony. Thank you so much. John says, question, does cheese change notes flavour over time, similar to perfume? Certain notes come out and then another and another. Yes, good question. So just thinking back to the triple cream, okay, let's think about that cheese. Very simple cheese, very high in fat. It's got a nice white mold ripened rind on it, and basically it went through 3 flavour profiles during its maturation, so it changed. So when it was fresh, it was very milky, and had no mold growth whatsoever. And then after about 14 days when I tried it, it had sharper notes, like there was a sharpness to it, and the paste was soft on the outside and chalky in the middle. So totally different flavour profile, and that was only after 14 days. And then after, I think it was about 2 months. Yeah, so 60 days, about 60 days. I still had one sitting in the fridge. I tried it, and the flavour had changed totally. It was mellow, it was smooth, gooey, creamy, salty. The saltiness really came out in a nice way. It was really good. So yeah, just that simple cheese, the flavours just changed dramatically just over time from fresh. 4 days I tried it at fresh, and then 14 days totally different, then 60 days totally different again. And that is the same for most sorts of cheeses at your age. That was a mold ripened cheese. But if you think of cheeses like cheddar, if you try it at 3 months, let's try an example. Let's try the farmhouse cheddar, the stirred curd cheddar. At 3 months, very mild flavour. 6 months, starting to get a bit of a bite to it. You age them out to 12 months and they taste fantastic. Nice, sharp, Not bitter, sharp, great all-round flavour. So as time, and this is because the proteins and the fats need time to break down into smaller chain proteins and fatty acids. And that happens by the work of the enzymes that are left behind from the rennet, from the starter cultures, and if you've got mold introduced or other bacteria ripening, then yeah, that helps break it down. Anyway, I know that was a long-winded answer, but hopefully you got some value out of that. Okay. Marie says, whilst ripening the meso in step 1 of my cheddar, the temperature climbed to 110 Fahrenheit. Should I scrap this batch? Will it be bitter? Or is it worth all the work of pressing and aging anyway? Just a quick conversion. Alexa, convert 110 Fahrenheit to Celsius.
110 degrees Fahrenheit is about 43.3 degrees Celsius.
Right on the edge. So, yes, it did. Thank you. So, 43 degrees Celsius, which is the high end of the survivability for mesophilic culture. You're welcome. The culture will survive up to it will survive hang on, sorry, one of the dogs is hassling me. So the culture will survive up to about 42 degrees Celsius during ripening. That's the peak, the top. I think that you may be okay. Maybe. I wouldn't throw it away, certainly, and it won't be bitter, because it will have probably less lactic bacteria activity, because you've gone to the high end of the spectrum. So, yeah, try that. I would continue, age it, and you may end up with an amazing cheese. So it'll be different than what you, set out to make, cheddar, but I think the flavour will be okay. Over time, those fats and proteins will still break down. I don't think you've totally destroyed it. So, okay. Alrighty. Next question is from John. Is there any type of enhancements to add flavour to cheese at the very end of the cheese making process? So, John, just to clarify, is that after it's mature? Because there's only one I can think of, and that was the Alpine Blossom that I made. So I made a modified Gruyere. And then I added flowers, botanical flowers and herbs to the outside of the cheese, and then vacuum packed it for 2 weeks. And that really changed the flavour of the Gruyere to something a little bit more flowery. It was really nice, honestly. So it was worth it. If that's what you're talking about, yes, that's. And there are lots of cheeses where you can smoke them or rub them or anything like that. So there's a couple of ways to add more flavour to a cheese. If worse comes to worse and your cheese doesn't taste like you think it should, then you can add some, grate it all up, add some sodium citrate to it, and then make it into an American-style melty cheese, and then put that into a mould and turn it out, and you've got some cheese that you would otherwise have not used. So try that. Next question. Anthony says, with some green herbs, you can heat them gently in the oven to about 95 Celsius to kill off anything that may be hanging on. The garlic shot cloves are wrapped, so it's not as big of an issue. Yeah, that is a good idea. Thanks, Anthony. In fact, one of the first cheese videos that I put up way back, what was it, nearly 11, 12 years ago on the channel, was a Wensleydale that I made. And I decided, and the recipe was given to me when I went on the cheese making course, I decided to put sage leaves. And the only sage that I had, and that's time for the gallery, but we'll finish this. The only sage I had was fresh sage from the garden. So I did exactly the same thing. I gently heated them in the oven on an oven tray at about 100 degrees Celsius. I set the oven to. And they did dry up, but they maintained their shape, which was great. And then I put them in as a centre layer in the middle of the Wensleydale, and the flavour was just beautiful. So, yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll just flag where the next question is. Okay, cool. So, it's time for the gallery. And let's just bring that up. If I can find it. Where the heck did I put it? Right, there we are. Alrighty, so today's gallery is presented by all of the people who sent in photos, and one of the most prolific cheesemakers this week is Bernard, the young 14-year-old lad from New South Wales. So Bernard says, and this is a long one because he sent in 12 photos. He says, "Dear Mr. Webber, I'm glad to hear you had a good birthday." Thank you, Bernard, appreciate it. I have just a couple, smiley face, of cheese pictures to add to the gallery this Sunday. I was very pleased with the paprika kafili. However, in this instance, I was trying to make a yarg, just like you. Sadly, the nettle leaves were not large enough to use yet. In the second photo, you can see the white mould coming through. So this is as he's coating it. And then he obviously added some white mould into the mixture like you do with a yarg. Into the milk. So the white mould's coming through on his smoky paprika. But I think, look, that'll be okay, because like I did with the cheese, Bernard, when I made this cheese, I just rubbed off the rub at the end and had a nice clean rind. So I think that'll work the same with the white mould. Remember, it's only aging for 3 weeks, so it's no big deal. But well done. It's very cool. I like the red and the white. Nice combination, by the way. Okay, the next photo is also from Bernard. It says, the next 2 pictures show one of my red Windsor cheeses that has finished. It's 4 months affinage. The wine tasted a little bit strong at first, but after it had been out of the vacuum seal bag for a little while, improved, and I was very happy with the taste and the crumbly texture. It's a great looking cheese. You know, it's got some bigger curd pieces there, which probably helped. Mine had really tiny curd pieces, so it was a lot more crumbly, and the flavour was not as good. But yeah, well done. The next picture is, there's another one of the Red Windsor. Very nice. The next one is 2 cheeses side by side. It says the next picture is of Sabrin's and a marbled cheddar side by side. The photo after the close-up is of the Sabrin's, and the red specks are from the paprika kafili. I like the marbled cheddar. Could be pressed a little bit more, mate, if you but I think once you vacuum pack, it won't really matter. There's the Sabrin's out of the packet. Yeah, I can see that the paprika got a little bit carried away there. Very cool. That is all for part 1. Okay, so we've got another part. Righto, next cheese is... Continuing on with the cheese photos, we have a Jack-in-the-Box, which I call my trick cheese, because I made it without the reveal, so it looks like just one colour. Alright, so when you cut it open, it'd be very interesting to see this one. So, yes, I can't see any of the second colour in the middle. This is... I had some leftover curds from the Jack-in-the-Box cheese, so I put the curds in my mini chowder mould and called it Marbled Mini Jack. Very nice. I like that a lot. The next ones, now we have some camemberts. They are not as concave on the top as they look. But they always look like that anyway. It was just a shadow from the flash on my camera. You'll also notice that I have the right camembert hoops, so there'll be no more 3 shapes camembert like you saw in the photos I sent last time. Very good. Yeah, they'll look really good once they've got a mould covering on them. So well done, mate. The next one is the last three pictures show what I think is my best looking cheese yet. On the outside, it looks just like another big red Windsor. But in the last photo, you can see that there is actually a cheese inside a cheese inside a cheese. I combined your idea of the Jack in the Box with my trio cheese and called it Drunken Jack in the Box in 2 boxes. Goodness me, what a mouthful. I used 3 batches of milk, which I am used to doing with my trio cheese. 1 2-litre batch, 1 5-litre batch, and another 8-litre batch. And I made them all into farmhouse cheddars. For the Jack, I kept the cheese plain and just added a natto. The second layer I kept white and added peppercorns. And the outside layer I soaked in wine. I can't wait for the taste test. Let's have a look, shall we? Oh yeah, there is through it. So underneath, right, very tricky. So underneath, so you got your layer of drunken curds there. You've got your white farmhouse cheddar there with some peppercorns. And then in the middle, he's got the pepper jack cheese, or the jack cheese, made it yellow. So very cool. That'll be really interesting to look at on a side profile that's been cut. So yeah, really good, Bernard. Well done, mate. And there's the weight of it. It weighed just over 2 kilograms or 8 pounds. And it says, in answer to your question from 3 weeks ago, I did indeed seal my Alpine Blossom cheese. Otherwise, the house might become uninhabitable as there would have been blossoms everywhere. That is everything for now. Your cheesy friend, Bernard. Thank you, Bernard. I really appreciate all of the amazing photos that you sent in. But wait, there are more. It's not from Bernard. There are other photos. So let's go back to the gallery, shall we? Okay, so the next one is from Ilgvars from Latvia. And Ilgvar says, hello, here are a few pictures with maybe a failed cheddar blue 10 weeks old. So this is apparently the failed cheddar blue. Let's just have a look at the inside. Doesn't look failed to me, it just doesn't have much blue. But I tell you what, that cat in the background looks a bit spooky. Can I just say that? I don't know if that's a real cat. And he's got a cigarette lighter there for size comparison. But looking at the cheese, beautiful structure for a cheddar. Just the outside looks a little bit, it had blue mould on it, and it didn't quite make it into the centre. It doesn't look like you pierced it, looking at that side profile. So, yeah, very interesting. It says, when cut, failed veining... hang on. Let me just... sorry, it says, I had to move to a smaller container and forgot it for 2 weeks with the lid closed, and then left it for 1 more week with the lid partly open. The rind originally was a nice blue-green colour. Now, as you can see, it smells like a brie. Yeah, it looks like Geotrichum has taken over, that's for sure. When cut, failed veining, no pokey holes. They are also brown. The cheese has a sock smell, but not too obtrusive, and not as strong as the taste. Okay, that one. However, when baked, it mostly disappears. The texture is nice and creamy. Is it safe to eat? Yes, indeed it is. It is safe to eat. What has happened there, and I learnt this through developing the blue cheese course, is that when you, and I learnt it over time as well, I've done it myself, is when you starve the cheese of oxygen, the Penicillium Roque 40, it goes brown and orange. It actually dies and doesn't develop and turns brown as well, and has some really off-putting ammonia smells to it. And that's when Brevibacterial linens, which is always lurking there in the background, takes over. So that is always a bit of a worry. So don't starve your blue cheeses of oxygen, because that's what happens. Anyway, moving right along. There is another photo. So this is, here are 7-week-old Belper cannoli. Taste heavenly. They are hard, and I'm going here for extra hard grating cheese, maybe 2 more months of maturation. The yellow one is your recipe, and the pink one is the same, but with killer amounts of fresh red cayenne pepper. So that's that pink one there. Can we zoom in? It looks amazing. It's great looking cheese. Tell you what, it is a fiery little thing, I tell you, Belper cannoli, but yeah, really enjoyed it. Ilvas goes on to say, thank you for your hard work and happy curd nerding from Latvia. Thank you so much, mate. And some lovely looking cheeses. Is that? Yeah, oh, right. So I didn't realise this one was here. So this is an extra. So that's the one with the cayenne pepper in it. And that's the normal one with the garlic. But yeah, great looking cheeses. And finally, this one is from Shauna. And Shauna, who's watching right now, says, good morning, Gavin and Kim. Just one photo for the gallery. I hope it will make it in time for this week. It did. Made your Vegemite cheese in the Manchego mould and have attached a photo of the cheese fresh out of the brine. I'm really happy with the amazing marbling and the weight of 5.575 grams. Oh, sorry, that's kilograms. 1.5 kilograms, we'll say that. Which is a great result from 12 litres of milk. And of course, the smell is pure breakfast. Yes, I agree. The Vegemite cheese does smell amazing. Even though there are only 2 of us in the house that like Vegemite, I'm sure others will try some, indeed. Says, my dad Nev will be watching with me on Sunday as usual, and it's his birthday too. Happy birthday again, Nev. I hope you had a great day on Tuesday for your birthday, and thank you again for sharing your knowledge. All the best, Shauna. Thank you, Shauna, and I love the little mousey as always. But yeah, that's a good-looking Vegemite cheese, and thanks to Evan Fitz for providing me with his version of the recipe, which I slightly modified. It was great. A great cheese. Kim can't stop raving about the Vegemite cheese. And we still have a little bit, and we eat it sparingly, so it's lovely. Anyway, that's it for the gallery today. Thank you so much for everybody who sent in photos. If you want to send a photo in, how do you do it is probably what you're asking me right now. So what we do, we go to the channel page, Gavin Weber, cheeseman.tv, and we go to the About tab, and this little arrow here, you can find it, here it is, About, and you go down to Details. So for all business inquiries, view the email address. Now, if you're not logged on, it'll ask you to log on with your Gmail account or whatever you log on to with Google and YouTube, and you may have to prove that you're not a robot, and you'll get the email address. Send me your photos to that email address. So, yeah, I welcome one and all. So just shoot them through. If you've got a question, I'll answer that during the show, or I'll reply back to your email if it's a little bit more complicated. And help you out. So I love all the photos, so keep them coming. I really enjoy the photos for the gallery, and so does everybody else, as I can see in the chat. So we'll get to that. There are some more questions. Let's have a look. This one's from John. Says, ever since I was young, I'm allergic to penicillin. Not sure how bad. Will molds in cheese making affect me? Right. So the penicillin Roquefort and Camembert or Candidum are not the same as normal penicillin used in the medical profession. It's totally different strains of mold. However, what you can do is, if you buy a very small piece of blue cheese and you're not sure, then you can try it, and hopefully you won't get an allergic reaction to it. Usually, if I remember rightly, penicillin allergic reactions happen very quickly. But I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you advice on that. But I do know as a fact that they are totally different strains than other penicillins, and they don't create reactions that I know of. Anyway, so take that advice with a pinch of salt. Okay. Alrighty. Sebastian, hello, mate. I tried Guido's cheese and loved it. I don't have a great setup, so soft cheese is out of the question. How could I improve my Guido's aside from aging it over a year? I use a cheap wine cooler. Works for me. How to improve it? So, I'm not sure if I added lipase to the Guido's, the one that I made, because it was very quick aging. So aging will improve the flavour, definitely. Adding a little bit of lipase, I wouldn't add more than 1/16 of a teaspoon to the recipe that I've got. And that will improve the flavour because lipase helps break the fats down quicker and creates those short chain fatty acids a lot faster. And you get as the Italians and the French call, a piquant flavour, a spicy flavour to the cheese, like a well-aged Parmesan or Romano. So that is one way to cheat, is by using a bit of calf lipase to do that. So that's how you do it. And then you'll get a better flavour within 3 months, for sure. Hope that helps. Seal says, question, love the long-winded answers. That's all right. I try my best. Also, never knew about the egg trick. If I heard correctly, you say that floating an egg to test salt ratio in brine. Indeed. So, Ciel, when I make the 18% brine solution, I float a raw egg in there. It's obviously clean. And it hasn't got any chook poo on it. That would be terrible. So, yeah, clean egg. And float that. And so it'll float. And when you see that the egg is protruding it's about a 20-cent piece. So it'd be about the same as a $0.50 in the US. But 20-cent piece of the egg protruding out of the brine, then it's about 18%. But if you use the right ratios that I use in my videos, you'll get an 18% brine anyway. But yeah, the egg works. If the egg sinks, not enough salt. If it floats really high, you can only saturate brine to 26% anyway, because that's all the salt that the water will absorb. So that's no big deal. So there you go. Egg works well. Paul says, I'm thinking of giving Gruyere one more try. The first two are looking good, but have a very strong taste in a bad way. I used a high quality raw milk. I wonder what I did wrong. Okay, so Paul, with raw milk, always use less starter culture, because remember, it's got native lactic bacteria in it already. So I would halve the starter culture if you're using raw milk, which I do mention in my second book, I think. Also, you probably won't need as much rennet as well, because remember, rennet has enzymes in it, chymosin and pepsin, depending on the version you use, and they all contribute to the flavour profile as you age cheese as well. So less rennet, less starter culture, and you'll find that you'll get a milder Gruyere, and it won't be as overpowering. Okay, next question, let's have a look, is from Jim. Says, you have to get Bernard for an interview. Yeah, that is the plan, Jim. So on the 12 or 10 hours of cheese, whatever I decide it's going to be this year, it will be on the 2nd of July. I've already had a quick chat to Bernard. We're going to schedule it in the afternoon my time, because he goes to church in the morning on Sunday mornings and he misses the show. So yeah, I'll be scheduling that later. So Bernard has agreed to come on the show for the 12 hours of live cheese. So yeah, that'll be great fun. So he will be here. John says, instead of travelling, have you thought of trying to get guests to interview on different topics involving cheese? Indeed, I have, John. And that leads me to a plug, because you can't not have a plug on the chat. If you want to see all the interviews, where's me button? Right. if you pop over to one of my other channels, I have a few. This one's called Little Green Cheese Podcast, and you can see some of the amazing people who turn up week after week. For instance, here's Patricia. Let's have a look. There she is. So we have a lovely interview there with Patricia. And me. This was the last 12 hours of cheese last year. So there are lots of interviews. So if you go to the channel, it's called Little Green Cheese Podcast. Let me just put the link into the chat. There we go. And go and check out that channel. I have 97 podcast episodes. I do about 6 a year. I don't push myself too much on it. But whenever I get an interview, there are lots of people. There's even Julia from Cheese History. And there are so many, lots of interviews. So yeah, it's very cool. Go and check out the podcast channel. Lots of interviews over there. Okay, so next question is from John again, and says, the process for having a cheese in a cheese in a cheese. What's the process for that? John, if you go and check out my Jack in the Box video, then you'll see how I did just a cheese inside a cheese. But yeah, I just made a void, put one cheese in, made a void, and then filled it up with a different colour cheese, and yeah, it worked well. Okay, next question. Lots of people saying Bernard's cheeses are great and Shauna's cheeses are great. They are all great, and Ilgvar's cheeses were great as well. Let's have a look. There is another question from Jim. Jim says, Gavin, to the left of the curd nerd light there appears to be a flashing amber light. Is it just reflection in a tile? No, Jim, it's a candle. It's a candle that Kim made me. So to add a little bit of light in the corner there, because it's very dark, I added a candle in there. So it's a candle that Kim made me. So lovely. Ciel has a question for Shauna. Where do you get those gorgeous Manchego molds? And not sure, did Shauna... Right, here we go. So... Shauna says, I bought it online through New England Cheesemaking. It costs a small fortune to get here, but I use it at least once a fortnight. Yes, they are very expensive. I actually, CL and Shauna, I tried to get some from Spain, because that's where they originate from. And you can see down here, there's a Westie bear. Who's that? That's Hamish. Hamish is down there. They're very expensive to import. I was quoted something like, and this is a wholesale price, I think it was nearly $50 Australian, and that didn't include shipping, just for the mould. So I would have to sell it to make a profit. I always mark up to 100%, so you know that's $100 plus whatever the shipping cost me, plus GST here in Australia. So GST is goods and service tax, so same as VAT in Europe and the UK, and sales tax in the US. Anyway, moving right along. Jeanette says, a local lady says she uses junket tablets instead of rennet in her cheese making. Can you give us some thoughts on this? Indeed. So junket is very weak. It has an IMCU of about 10. The rennet I use has a IMCU rating of about 200. So she would have to use a lot of junket tablets to make, you know, the size of cheeses that we make, Jeanette. So, yes, she could use junket tablets. Remember, it's got other additives in it as well, just beside a tiny bit of rennet. Remember, it's only there to set milk for desserts. It's not there to make cheese. But yes, you can, but you have to use a lot of them because the IMCU, or International Milk Coagulation Units, the strength of the rennet is very, very weak. Okay. Acrophobe says, give the stream a like or Gavin will turn you into cheese. Nice icons. I like that. That's very good. Oh, goodness me. Heidi, welcome. Says, I'm a late joiner today. And Gavin, I listen to audiobooks basically all the time. Your name has suddenly become extra popular with US authors. Okay, why would that be? Please amplify. I don't understand. But yeah, it's very cool. Thank you, mate. Jim says, Kim is slacking this morning. Yeah, they're lying back down again now. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, yeah, Kim normally looks after the doggos, but I decided to let her sleep because she doesn't really sleep in on Sunday mornings with the dogs because they're always making noise. They haven't had breakfast yet. That's why they're so upset. So once the stream finishes in 5 minutes, they'll be getting their brekkie, as we call it here in Australia. Alrighty. Oh, yep, did that one. CL says, thank you, Sean and Gav. I will treat myself to one after I treat myself to a sous vide. Indeed, the sous vide is the way to go, or as I was told once on my YouTube channel, it's not a sous vide, that's the process. I'm a chef and all this sort of stuff. That's what the person said. And they said it's called a precision cooker. Anyway, I call it a sous vide. It's all right. But yeah, it's great. And for those who have been watching the cheese videos lately, I use a sous vide all the time now, or precision cooker, to heat the water bath that I put the pot inside. I don't heat the milk with the sous vide because it burns the milk. So yeah, put it into a water bath. Sandra says, I'm thinking of using black garlic paste as a flavouring in a cheese. Have you had an experience with this? No, I haven't. And this brings me back, Sandra, to the question we had earlier around using garlic. So black garlic is not raw. It has been like fried in the oven. Baked in the oven for a long, long time till it goes black. And the paste is actually then filtered, as in put through a mesh. So there's no bits in it. It's just a paste. But yeah, you could put that into the cheese. I couldn't see why not. You could do it at milling time. I don't know how much you would use. It's pretty strong stuff. But I don't know how much would go through the curds as you mill it. And it's pretty tacky as well, so you may have to dilute it a little bit. So you could do that. Heidi says, the name Gavin, I don't know why, it's suddenly in every book I listen to. Oh, okay, right, now I understand. Yeah, Gavin means, it originates from Gaelic, and I was told once it means white hawk. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah. It's a fairly old name. Well, I was born in 1964 and my parents gave it to me then, so I don't know, maybe it's popular again. Maybe I've made it popular, who knows. John says, stupid question, can you pickle cheese? Yes, the Greeks pickle cheese all the time. The Maltese pickle cheese. So if you look at Jbenyet Tal Bazar, which is the Maltese cheese, it is also soaked in vinegar. So it's got the peppery coating and then they soak it in vinegar. Is one of the ways they pickle the cheese and preserve it. It is very sour when it's done like that. I prefer not to, but yeah, you can do that. And feta, which is a Greek cheese, is brined for over a year with a little bit of acid as well, so it's pickled. Last few questions, we've only got a minute to go. When adding pepper like ghost peppers in cheese, do you use fresh or dried? If you use fresh or dried, it doesn't matter. Just boil it in quarter of a cup or half a cup of water. Boil it for about 10 to 15 minutes and then add it into the cheese. Add the liquid into the milk and then the chili bits in when you mill the cheese. Last question from Jeanette. Re the precision cooker, what wattage do you suggest? Just because we're not heating it up very high, the water, I use 1000 watt. So use the Inkbird That one there. So the ink bird, what's the model number? Doesn't say. Anyway, I think it's the 308. Oh, maybe no, that's not it. Anyway, it says on the back, can I get my head out the way? It says 1,000 watts. So got 1,000 watts. There you go. And I think there might be a link in the description down below. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much, everybody. No more time for any questions. Alexa's barking something at me in the background, so it must mean I have to go do something else. But thank you, everybody, for the... Alexa, stop. Goodness me. Chew the leg off a chair. Right, so thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Live, what can you do? You can't do much at all. Don't forget that you can go and check out my cheese making courses and books and consulting over at courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au, the Curd Nerd Academy. And I have a lovely page there for you to go and check out. Also, don't forget you can buy supplies over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can get all your cheese making needs, or most of them anyway, and all these lovely kits and stuff you see behind me, they're all for sale. It's very cool. And also don't forget that you can get merch like this amazing mug, Certified Curd Nerd, over at merch.cheeseman.tv. Well, that's the show for this week. I will see you next Sunday. Thank you so much for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.